Okay guys, previously I have done a little bit of review on this low profile Thermalright cooler. And at the time I only compared with this Noctua A9 PWM fan for, let's just say, noise comparison, I suppose. But it didn't turn out to be very good for this Noctua fan for some reason, and I'm gonna do a deeper dive onto these fans, and you can see I have probably 6 type of variant of fans I have available. So on the Noctua side, I have a normal A9 fan, which is 25 millimeters thick fan, and on the right I have a A9 14 millimeter version of that. And I also have an ID cooling fan that I purchased a while back. And the new guys are these Thermalright TL-P9W, which is white fan that I want to put on. And also these Be Quiet Pure Wings 2 92 millimeter PWM fan. This is the faster RPM version of this particular fan. It is, what's the model number again? It's the BL038 variant of this particular one. And then on top, on the very last, is the server fan I have bought a while back that is definitely gonna be interesting for this particular comparison. Alright guys, we're just gonna be capturing some basic spec or basic performance of these fans. Now the two attributes I will be capturing, one is the dB level, and the other will be the wind speed. Now in this particular test I'm gonna just measure at kilometers per hour for wind speed, and dB level, as you can see, you can capture from my little dB meter here, and they all be tested at 100%. So I'm gonna be changing the test a little bit too, just because I realized that if these fans they weren't running at 100%, they're quite likely just gonna throttle the CPU anyways. So I'm gonna skip all the 50% bench tests for these fans, just because they just technically don't make any sense unless you're not, for example, using the PC. So really all of these fans would be pretty quiet at around 50% anyways. So we're just gonna be testing 100% and see what the performance will be like. So first fan we're going to be testing is the Thermalright stock fan. Came with the cooler, and they're spinning at 100%, and we are reading about 9.6 to 10 kilometers per hour in terms of wind speed while I'm capturing it, and it says about 54 dB level in terms of noise level. The next fan I'll be testing is this cheapo ID cooling fan I bought from AliExpress a while back. And it's just something I have, and really didn't think this thing will be, super good. So we're gonna go for a test on it. So in terms of wind speed, is doing about 6.6 kilometers per hour. And the dB noise about 58 dBA. The next one on this list is the Noctua A9 fan that personally I'm a fan of. But let's see how it performs. So this particular fan can push about 8.5 to 9 kilometers per hour. And its dB level is about 53. This is its little brother, the Noctua A9 14mm fan. Doing pretty well. It's doing about 5.9 kilometers per hour in terms of wind speed. The dB level is about 49. So this one is a Thermalright, I believe it's called TL-P9, and it's supposed to be for pressure, but I'm just gonna see how well they can perform. So this particular fan is able to do about 7.4 kilometers per hour, and the noise level is about 44. So one thing to note that some of these cheaper fans does make a little bit of rattling noise on these fans. Depends on how the fan is positioned, but overall it's not bad. And this one is going to be the Be Quiet, one of Pure Wings 2. This is actually the faster RPM model of the 2 variant they have, and I'm gonna see how well it can perform. So with this particular fan can spin about 6.8 kilometers per hour. And its dB level is about 46.5. Pretty quiet, really quiet actually. Now this last particular fan, I'm not actually a fan of testing this because it's super loud. It's the server grade 90mm fan, and it can push a lot of air, and it can probably cut you if you touch the blade. So I'm going to be very careful with this one. So I start off with the very minimum speed here. It's already doing 8.5 kilometers per hour at the very minimum speed, and dB is about 50. Now it's sitting at 100%. It's doing 20 kilometers per hour in terms of wind speed, and its dB level is about 78, and it's quite loud, and I don't want to cut my finger. So I'll plug it. So that goes for all the tests, and hopefully everybody knows kind of expected sort of performance out of these fans just from the wind speed. And yeah, we'll start off testing with the Thermalright fan on my test bed here. So I'm not gonna bother to mount these. I'm just gonna set it on top, and I'm gonna boot it up and get the fan test started. Alrighty, our first test. This is the default fan, and I will be setting up a 3-minute duration on these tests just because I don't want to drag on forever on these tests. So let's begin. Alright, so far this one, it's just kind of meh in terms of performance. But we're gonna let the temperature drop a little bit, swap out for the other fans. Actually, I'm gonna do the 14mm fans first, just so it's kind of all a straight up comparison. And we're gonna go from here to the Noctua 14mm ones, and the one thing about this Noctua fan, it has a very short cable, so not sure how well it can stack up against the other two. I mean, by far, this particular one, if you look at the camera, it's performing the best. And it's a cheapo fan too. It's about 10 bucks if you buy it separately. So let's continue with the tests. Alright, so I always want to double check the fan speed on the fans I'm testing, just because I have this knob here and just want to make sure it is not at 100%. And this one definitely failed this particular test because it's definitely thermal throttling the CPU. Now in this particular test, what will be the clock speed setting at? So the test points didn't go down compared to the other ones, but I'm just curious of what's the max clock speed it was hitting. Clocks with 5.25 megahertz. Still pretty good, you know, if you got that burst of, you know, clock speed, it can definitely handle that, but it just wouldn't handle the continuous heat putting out by the CPU. Alright, we're gonna move on all to all the 25mm fans. And you know, it is clearing up my confusion a little bit now, just because by looking at the fan speed, is actually going direct of the performance. The more you know, wind speed it can produce, the better of results you can get from these fans. So let's continue the test. Alright, so this 25mm fan is doing not bad of a job, but it's still making the cooler quite toasty. So I was very surprised that the 15mm fans are, like especially the two early ones, are stacking up quite good against this cooler. But then when I switch to the Noctua ones, everything just kind of falls apart. So let's continue with all the other ones to see what the results would be. So I have seems to find why, I guess, the performance of every single kind of fan differs. You know, typically when you buy a fan, it comes with the static pressure and the CFM it can produce. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, because the wind speed and CFM technically don't coincide with each other, because one measures the amount of air being pushed out, one is measured by the speed it can push out. So with that said, I'm gonna continue with these fan tests. Kind of bothers me that how a 15mm fan with the, you know, quite a bit of wind speed can outperform all of these 25mm fans in my test. Alright, we're gonna hit the last bit of test our fan here. Not too sure how I'm gonna mount this. I think this thing will probably blow off. We'll see. But for now, I'm just gonna dial down the wind speed on this thing, or this fan speed. Try to get this installed without killing myself. And let's increase the fan speed. Yeah, it's definitely going places. I might just hold this for this last test, and wish me luck. Alright, finally the test is over. Oh my god, this thing is so loud, I want to cut my finger off on this thing. Jeez. Oh my god. Jeez. Oh, I'm scared of that fan. So, probably not the, you know, it's very surprising, these 25mm fans, even though spec wise they have higher CFM than this particular fan, unless Thermalright really misprint its ability, I suppose. But in terms of like CFM, all of these 25mm one are supposed to be higher than this. I need to double check the spec sheet for all this, but man, this thing is so much better than all the other fans I've tested. And obviously from the wind test, this thing puts about almost 10 kilometers, I believe. I can't remember. 10 kilometers per hour. Where all the other ones only push about 7, 6. You know, in terms of wind speed. And even let's say this one was pushing about 20 kilometers per hour in terms of wind speed, but obviously the trade-off is noise and potential cut your fingers off if it's running. But if you can see from the performance, it's not that much better compared to this cheapo 15mm fan. Don't know what Thermalright did to this particular fan, but it's definitely the sweet spot in terms of performance for this particular setup. I mean, hopefully you guys like my video, and if you really enjoyed my video, give me a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure you subscribe for the channel. But for now, we will see you next time.